Today's matchup. Dark. DRG. Astrea. ByuN. Round of 16. Group C.
Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 3.
Welcome back, everybody. GSL continues on. Dark does ultimately come out and defeat DRG, but man, those were really exciting games that those two made for us here. Up next, we've got Astrea versus ByuN, and this is going to be a fun one. Look, I'm very hopeful for Astrea here. You know, GSL, it is the global StarCraft League, although it's obviously had mostly Koreans for its history. But we do have these international players that come down to play. Astrea has been in many, many GSLs. And he has not performed as well as I think a lot of us had hoped. I mean, Scarlett has had her moments at GSL, but the same is true for her as well. I think people hoped that she would get deeper in here. But this is another moment to turn a new leaf, to see you know, what Astrea can bring. This guy has, one thing that he does not suffer from is issues with nerves. He's never stressed out. He's never nervous at the studio. He's very relaxed. He does not take his losses too hard. And I think that's going to play to his benefit. But he's also going up against ByuN. ByuN, funnily enough, is one of our more emotional players, you know, if we were to put him on a spectrum. But yeah, I think he's been in very good spirits the last couple GSLs we've had.
He seems to be having it all kind of put together. And I guess when you have stats like that on the left side of the screen, a lot of top 8s, top 4s, and even top 12 at IEM, I mean, you're going to be feeling really good, really confident with your play. ByuN kind of reinventing the meta a little bit in TVZ. He's been pioneering. And so, you know, when this patch got released and I knew we were going to be doing GSL, you know, a couple of weeks after it, one of the first players that came to my mind in terms of, you know, when we have a shakeup of the meta is how is ByuN going to play TVP on this new patch, because oftentimes he can be really creative with the builds that he comes up with, not just in TVP, but just in general.
I do think he has a mind that can wrap itself around a new patch and kind of navigate a new meta very cleanly. So this should be a fun one. PvT, of course, it has gone through some changes. We're still learning and unpacking how the matchup looks as we get further along here in the GSL. Of course, we're on so many new maps, and there's just such a big update just 2 weeks ago. Let's see what happens. We have Astrea duke it out versus ByuN. Remember, the winner goes up against Dark in that winner's match as well.
Match2 Esports, Astrea.
Oh, hold on. We have one is it one SCV going across the map?
We have Insta Scout from Max.
Oh, Insta Scout from, yeah, excuse me.
Astrea.
In my mind, I'm like, well, ByuN is always blue.
I was getting tripped up with DRG versus Dark because for the first couple of games, I don't know if you noticed, I kept saying DRG instead of Dark. I was like, oh, the colors, they just keep confusing me sometimes.
So this is going to be a probe coming right across the map. For some reason in my mind, I decided since ByuN has to be blue, I'm like, oh, he's going to do like a proxy barracks over here. Nah. But this is one good way to just confirm that there isn't, in fact, a proxy barracks or anything else weird happening, because you get to see that that's been made inside the main base.
Yeah, I like this decision, especially going up against a player like ByuN, because he can be pretty cheeky with his openings sometimes. We've seen ByuN execute builds that it feels like no one else in the world can, especially with units such as Reapers. I mean, he just is so good at kind of fidangling with these armies that are absolutely crazy. Came out from Australia to root for Astrea. ByuN, bonkers, boys. All right.
I love that.
Love the signs. I mean, ByuN, you know, sometimes he makes like a ByuN army where it's just like, it's like 2 Reapers and like a Hellion. Maybe I'll have like a Widow Mine or something in there. And it just doesn't look like it makes any sense.
Right.
And then you'll see him control it in some unbelievable way, and it will just get huge value. And it's like that, how? How are you doing this? It feels like no other Terran player can do this kind of thing.
Oh, excellent. We love this sign.
Taze is cheering for Astrea.
These are great signs in the audience. So good to have you guys down here.
I'm saying, man, the level of cheerfuls we've been getting this season.
The cheerful meta's up.
It's up.
The cheerfuls also got a patch.
We got new maps to play on.
New maps to play on for the signs in the audience. So, you know, not anything too interesting so far in this game. These are pretty ordinary openers. I'm basically watching to see if ByuN is going to try to set up for any early aggression, because he does seem to like to just at least start interacting with his opponent early on and try to keep some kind of in-your-face element going there. This Reaper is going to come up, but the Adept comes out just in time to drive it out. It's going to be Stargate tech for the Protoss.
Yeah, and ByuN caught that right away. Factory coming down. I'm wondering, okay, I was curious whether ByuN was going to be reactoring out a couple of Cyclones right there, because that is something you can do now with a new patch. Cyclone's cheaper and also no longer require a tech lab to complete, but instead for ByuN, just be making Marines out of the reactored barracks, add in 1, maybe 2 Cyclones, and then going up into that starport. And you know, a lot of players that I've seen from streams, pro players will react to the Cyclones now with a Stargate in terms of response. And then some other players that I will watch will say that Stargate units in Phoenix are absolutely terrible against Cyclones. So there seems to be, you know, a little bit of a difference in terms of how players are analyzing what the best thing to do is in the current meta against Cyclones in TVP, because, you know, Cyclones in TVP, they're not quite as useful as they seem to be in some of the other matchups. You know, in TVT, we've seen them earlier in Codes get insane value in a lot of games on streams. I've seen them get a lot of value against Zergs. For instance, when Terran opens with kind of a battle mech style, Cure is one of the Terrans that loves to do something like that. But in TVP, they really are kind of struggling to find their niche at the top level of play. But still, there is a difference in terms of how Protoss players are choosing to deal with it. Now, the Cyclone, it will be able to lock on with its Oracle, but of course, max release range now, I think, being reduced to 9 on the current patch. It's not really the stop ball, you know, ace in the hole for the defense for the Terran that it used to be. So Astrea is going to retreat without Oracle, potentially use it for stasis wards later on, or maybe he'll try to find some more damage with an attack coming into the main base. ByuN getting the confirmation there on the scout, sees the second and third gateways there in the natural, and Astrea really with a nice, safe general approach. You know, 3 gateways, going to be coming into a third base very soon. That Nexus does go down. And
I feel like if we're going to copy a build for PVT right now, this is it. This is not a new build, by the way. It's been around for a while.
That's a safe one.
Now, the Cyclone's going to be moving out with this army. The Cyclone functions better with the army now. So here's going to be that aggression I was pondering if we were going to see come out. He has the tanks hidden inside the medevac, so this might look like it's roaming, when in fact he wants to try to set up a position and start to really control this, start to really shell down that area as best he can.
And this has the potential to get some damage done. These tanks are going to siege uncontested.
Oh man, I don't know. These SCVs, they do a decent job repairing, but a lot of the Stalkers can't get back home okay. The tank, you know, one tank being down is pretty big. I thought for a second the repair was going to be good enough. So he edges forward with another tank. The bunker is being set up here.
I really like this angle that Astrea is coming in from right now. Blink about 2 seconds away from completion, but using this overcharge to really trade out and get some value. Good number of Marines going down. Blink is done, so some more micro here is...
I don't know,
There's potential,
man.
But yeah, this attack's getting a lot done.
Okay, the Oracle's getting some work off over here, but you know, not just this gateway, but the pylon, like he could basically unpower gateway production here, or get that to just, you know, only 30% of the gateways are working, basically.
I almost feel like Astrea should start using that Stargate to pump out more units. Even if it's not the best in this situation, you just need to find a way to spend your money. I think it's still only 3 gateways, now 2 here for Astrea. Oh, big blink forward, but multiple siege tanks.
Yeah, that's going to be game. That's it.
Wow. Decapitation move coming out from ByuN.
Yeah, this is like a knife to the heart here, this game. It's always a bummer, right, when you see the blanket and it's like, yes, you got the tank, but you lost everything that you had.
Yeah. That's it, GG. I mean, I think the opening there for Astrea at the start of the engagement went about as well as it possibly could. He was able to pick off 1 siege tank, only mostly taking hull damage on the Stalkers. He used the battery overcharge to absorb most of the damage and even trade out a couple of Marines. But in terms of production, there really was no follow-up there for Astrea. I think if he maybe had the foresight to build a number of extra gateways in the main base before that attack pushes, there is a world where it's possible that with excellent control, he can hold that push. But I mean, ByuN is just so deadly with these timing attacks that he's just like...
Yeah, I mean, it's also one of those, like, gotcha moments. Like, you think about all these games where you got to be ready for Widow Mines. There's this period where the Protoss has to be hyper-vigilant about anything that could come. But the idea that you just drop 2 tanks out of a medevac, set up shop, and suddenly, not only are you hitting that expansion, you're hitting half of the infrastructure that Protoss has, and it just seems like Astrea wasn't quite prepared for that, was instead ready for, you know, any other kind of play but that. And so we're going to go to a hard lead here for map number 2. Let's see if Astrea can turn this around, or if ByuN's going to go right up against Dark in the winner's match.
Match2 Esports, Astrea. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
And so, now Tasteless.
Yeah, now, no, see, I was right. I was just in the wrong timeline. It was in game 2 that building could see that.
Can it? It can.
What?
What am I talking about? That it seems like it's a lot more vision, but yeah, it certainly can.
What am I even looking at? What is this? I'm angry now.
Why
would you make that there? Maybe it's hard for the probes to get it?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean,
okay,
it can't be hit from this angle. Oh, ByuN is so good with his control. But it feels a little bit like a gamble, though, right? Oh, maybe he just has the read on how to do this. Oh, this is so cute.
Oh, my God. Okay.
He's just starting it and stopping it, and he's reading where the SCV is going to go, and he's only sticking the build if it's going to be there in the corner.
This is wild.
It's a micro that even at the pro level, we don't see this.
I've never quite seen this. I don't know that, you know, by the way, if you misclick once, by a mistake like escape,
yeah,
you could lose this building. But apparently this will just get done. Oh!
That SCV will sacrifice their life.
And now there's more.
Whoa, I feel like this might be an overreaction.
Well, I think that my bet is Astrea learned this the same time we did. Oh, this is a perfect sign for this moment.
Oh, I guess it was. It was right. It's kind of hard to read, you know, the surface area and the damage, but I guess ByuN, I mean, if ByuN is lifting the barracks, then he has the correct call.
I think he's got to land it again and start one more Reaper.
I don't know if it's going to finish.
Yeah, maybe not.
Wow, what an opening there for Astrea. I got to say, like, my gut instinct when I see those probes getting pulled down into that third base to attack the Reaper, I think it's a mistake. But Astrea is just so good. He has done the math in his head, and he knows that if he goes for that play, he will have enough surface area to damage that barracks and force a lift.
That was insane.
That's a great opening right now for Astrea.
I have never quite seen the SCV abused that way to force the structure out.
Yeah, but that was cool.
Yeah, and it's so funny because initially we see it and we go, well, he can see that, right? And then it's like,
what are you doing then?
Of course he can see that, and that's also where they always block with their buildings to stop a Reaper, so what's the idea? But then apparently you can just kind of finagle the SCV into the back over and over again, and it's not, you're not truly dealing with the same kind of pathfinding, but Astrea looks at that and goes, well, I know how long it takes to make a Reaper, and you still have suffered enough damage.
He really does, by the way. If you guys are watching,
it was crazy.
Astrea, when he plays on the Korean ladder, he plays also a lot of Terran on the ladder. He's a top 25 KRGM with Terran.
Yeah.
Astrea knows how to play Terran, so he can see that and make that read. That's a very good point, Tasteless.
And so he sees that and he goes, well, I might be losing money right now, but the reality is you're never going to get the Reaper out, and so you can't really start what you intended to do.
And on top of that, too, Astrea, knowing that there's no Reaper on the field, he has free range to move his probes across the map and get a full scouting. So he went for a delayed scout in the natural of ByuN, and he saw exactly what the follow-up was. He saw the factory coming in. He saw that there was a command center on the high ground. Now, only one Stalker, so Astrea will need to absorb some of the damage here with the probes, as the Stalker will not win that straight up.
Getting 3 probes is pretty big.
Yeah, it's
now,
nice.
I do want to point out, it's easy to be misled in this game and say, well, you know, he stopped the barracks from ever making the Reaper, so maybe Protoss is ahead. The math gets a little bit weird. I'm not sure exactly where we're at with when you pull that many workers. Keep in mind all the SCVs were still mining back at home.
It was expensive.
Yeah, that's it could be quite painful to be not mining for that long.
I think each worker mines about 50 minerals a minute, give or take, and that was 6 or 7 workers that were pulled for half a minute. So, man, it starts to add up over time. There is certainly certainly an expense of pulling probes like that. It's why you don't see Protoss players always pull probes to attack a hatchery in a hatch block situation, because the math actually just doesn't work out.
Now, the CC lands, so the SCVs will be transferred over here. We do have Banshee tech with Cloak. There is an observer being made, but we got to see where the observer is going to go.
Yeah, oftentimes it will just go cross map and try and get a confirmation on the scout, but
exactly.
That is not what Astrea will want in this situation.
And he could probably get a lot more workers right now. The worker count here, it is still...
Oh, that's so clutch.
Yeah, this is great. It's actually too bad he didn't kill that probe over there. That is still a worker.
Yeah, the observer's going to come back, but it was already about a third of the way across the map.
Well, this is just going to die.
Yeah. Not bad. Only 3 probes.
Second Banshee inbound here. Into what looks like the same location.
Yeah, and I love actually this play from Astrea. He knew that he was going to have the observer finish in the natural expansion in time to deflect that Banshee, but he still brought the other observer home from halfway across the map so that he can cover both the main base and the natural from any future Banshee harassment. So he is really safe on all fronts right now. And behind it now, starting Colossus production, and ByuN once again going for a siege tank timing.
It's kind of the same idea, but the implementation is a little bit different. This time, it's the Banshee that's the big distraction that could allow once more a setup with the double siege tank Marine and Cyclones here to basically just kind of force this game to end. He's going to go for the third base instead of the natural. And I don't think there's any way this Nexus finishes. I mean, this is just...
I think it's got to be a cancel.
Yeah, you have to. And he does get the cancel off, not destroyed. And he's just going to back up. Now, remember, if you don't see medevacs over the army, when the Terran tries to run, they will be killed if they start to lose the fight. So this is kind of YOLO by ByuN. He can get further up with the tanks. He's going to try to leapfrog him. Nice kill there on the observer. Good instinct.
More Stalkers getting warped in now. Thermal Lance about halfway done, and ByuN looks like he might try to siege this natural position.
Yeah, this is really smart. He also has the tanks spread out that he could end up baiting this army forward. The Stalkers are actually... Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they were going to go... Yeah, they're going to go north. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're trying to intercept any reinforcements.
But there's no reinforcements.
Yeah.
He knows that this is exactly where he wants to walk away from this. So 2 gas is not being mined right now. One is destroyed. The other one just vacant. And with the push forward, what is... Oh, he's fine.
Yeah, ByuN has not been reinforcing this, so... A lot of units back at home, but... You know, for Astrea, maybe you see the situation. If you're able to get these Stalkers out of the danger that they're in against that Sim Bio and recall them back home, you might be able to take an overwhelming engagement on that fortified position ByuN has at the third. I'm wondering now if Astrea is going to try and race back and just clean these units up, because if he can wipe out that many Marines plus a handful of siege tanks, it's probably going to be a cost-efficient fight for him, and ByuN is only just now moving across to reinforce, so let's see if Astrea decides to take it or if he's just going to play this slow.
The thing is, it's not an easy place to puncture.
Right.
So, and look, he's going to get yet another observer, keeping him guessing. Meanwhile, there's another force in the north. It's going to head down soon. Concussive shells is on the way. Oh.
I feel like you should attack into this as Astrea. If the other army comes and hits the third base, then suddenly his position gets way harder.
Well, I think that's what's happening here. I think that basically this is positionally just totally, you know, one player outplaying the other. He comes in now, he gets this. Beautifully done. I mean, dude, ByuN is everywhere.
Yeah, this
He's just moving better on the map. Like, it's actually kind of insane.
Oh, those siege tank hits are so big on the Stalkers. Marauders come in and focus them down. Might even be able to get a Colossus. I don't think there's a battery here at this third base. And Protoss is just falling apart.
Yeah, in fact, that one Colossus is going to live. But, I mean, we don't even have... We barely have an extra operational base here for Protoss. The hull damage is so much right now in that Colossus. We know that's never going to recover.
I feel like that was just a killing blow. That was so much damage done. The entire key unit count there for Astrea was reset. The Stalker Ball is down to about 6 units now. Colossus, even the Robo Bay died. That's the only Colossus you're going to get, and it's so low on HP.
Yeah, the Zealots are going to come forward here. And, I mean, they're doing okay. It looks like the Marines should be able to clean up that final Zealot. The Colossus is actually shot down by the tanks, and GG ByuN just 2-0s that. We had one long dramatic series to start this show off, but our second match has been, I think that was like 15 minutes or something like that, 20 minutes. It was super short, the whole series.
Yeah, that was a quick one. But ByuN came out with some killer builds, man. Both in Game 1 and Game 2. I love the way they play off each other as well. They kind of look very similar. Remind me of DRG and his prep for Dark in that first series. And ByuN, obviously very happy with his victory. He's going to be going up against Dark in the winners match later on.
Yeah, I mean, that was really impressive for ByuN. And ByuN with some new ideas, right? This double tank Cyclone Marine push, no medevacs, no concerns there. He's going to get it set up. He's going to get to exactly where he needs to be, whether it's sneaking it out with the first medevac or no medevacs at all, and he goes straight into Banshees. Guys, winners match coming up next. We'll be right back.
Cyber